Way to go, Judy. Um, and so we've pared back to saying, well, what is it that we want to do, and how much effort do we want to put in it? And so we've done that for a couple of years, and we thought perhaps it's now time to revisit, you know, why we're having a star party and what it is that we'd like to get out of it, and with the goal of trying to perhaps get some more um, members to attend and have a good time. We uh, all of us that have been going to Nova East have know the value of it, but at the same time we get fixed in our ways, I guess, and we might be, times are changing, and there may be, some fresh thoughts on doing things, and so we were going to talk about sort of what the purpose or the goals of a star party are. And in the past, it's been we like to do some observing, but it was also to socialize. We have another observing site that's actually not all that far in some ways from Smiley's Park, which is the Nova Scotia Provincial Park we go to, and we do some observing there, but it's about a 45-minute drive to get home, so you can't really have many beverages. Not sure that we're supposed to have beverages at the park anyway, but it's not quite as social, and so we end up going home. But we like the idea of being at Smiley's, which has a nice dark sky. Where the park has let us have the use of a field, which is fairly high with good views of the sky, and they've looked after us well over the years. So I guess we've observing and socializing, and I guess I can ask maybe Kim and Kevin if that is that essentially the modus operandi for your star party.
We're going back and forth. You go. No, you go. Um, Hi. So Kim and I are on the board of the Kingston Center. We've been involved with the Fallen Star Star Party for 25 years now. It's been running since 2000. We started off at a provincial park, as you are in, for one
Yeah.
year. Then we moved to a Boy Scout campground in a conservation area for 10 or 15 years. And
Mhm.
we basically and it was horrible because there were outhouses that were disgusting. No plumbing, no nothing.
They're
Um,
just kids.
the conservation area started locking the
Mm.
gates on us, so we moved to a private RV park. And that's where we've been since. And we've gone up and down from publicizing and inviting the public and trying to have structured formats all the way to, yeah, come on in, set up your tent, have a nice time. And so the whole range of formal formatting. And we've had invited speakers sometimes where we pay their expenses and give them an honorarium. We look at it, I think, more than anything else as a social event because our center does not have an observatory. We do not have observing sites. And this is one of the few times of the year that we actually can get together. So more and more, it's just our center and the Belleville Center, who is, 40 minutes down the road, and getting together. And there's usually between 30 to 50 participants, and almost always they're members only. Even though if somebody from the outside comes in, they're welcome. They're just like, oh my God, a bunch of astronomers. And so, yeah, social. We try to spice it up a bit by having talks in the Saturday afternoon. We have a communal dinner Saturday night, and we arrive Friday afternoon. We leave Sunday at noon.
Okay. We're not dissimilar. We start on a Friday. We're obviously there through Saturday night, and sometimes we try and stay over on Sunday because if you're there for 3 nights, you might get a clear night, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of
Yeah.
kind of the
And there's
gamble
no programming from Sunday afternoon onward.
on it. Yeah, it
Yeah.
officially kind of breaks up.
Reach because we recognize that some of our club members do have to go to back to work on Monday and therefore can't stay Sunday night. But those of us that can just enjoy the socializing and enjoy the night skies and fingers crossed it's a clear one.
Yeah,
So,
camping and bathrooms are a big thing.
Yeah.
well,
The thing that we have about the RV site is it actually has male and female bathrooms and they're looked after. So that was a big step up for us because we basically had to look after the outhouses at at the Boy Scout camp, and we had to open up the long room and get everything going. And if we needed a fire, then we'd have to start a fire and the whole bit. But the skies got to the point where you couldn't cut down any trees, and the trees kept growing
yeah.
up, so our skies kept getting smaller and smaller and smaller. But the year that the camp itself, it wasn't the Boy Scout camp that decided, but it was I think it was the county that decided the park had to be closed and you had to walk in. And there was no way we were going to walk in a
No.
kilometer with all of our gear.
Yeah.
And they weren't going to open it. And they said that if they did open it, we'd have to sit there and babysit the gate. That wasn't acceptable. So we ended up finding the other spot down at the RV park, which has worked quite well. I mean, we can camp. There's a couple of little bungalows there that they rent
Mhm.
out from the campground that you could stay in. And the skies are not too bad.
Fortunately.
Unfortunately, to the south, there is um, another park, another RV park that tends to have a lot of lights
Mm.
and music and that sort of thing. But, the skies are pretty good.
And I'll throw in one extra bonus. There's a winery within walking distance.
We
That's
have to
good.
drive to a local winery from our side.
Yeah, it's tough that way.
Yeah, yeah.
But we have essentially the same interests as you do, and we've been fortunate because Smiley's Park has male and female washrooms and showers, and there's a shelter building that they put up, which is the size of it's probably a little bit bigger than a two-car garage, and yeah, it is more like probably like three. And so we can meet in there or have events or do presentations. We can set up a screen and we can get enough light control that we can show images and things. And they've been wonderful hosts for us. And over the course of the weekend, we put up posters so that the campers who are at the park are welcome to come over and look through the telescopes, and they're aware of what presentations we have on. So we try and follow the mandate of sharing the skies with people, and the park likes that, and that as long if they're happy, we're happy. So
Yeah, we've
um,
had things like we've had solar observing in the observing field that we have in the afternoons. We have um,
we do sky.
usually there's a walk the solar system
There's a sort of
for the
a
kids.
solar system to scale which
I attended
stretches
my
out.
first year at Nova East because I was a newbie to
Yeah.
astronomy, so I was a big kid attending. Then and certainly the park is invited to those. And then the early evening, there's the sky tour, which because we are not in a area where is an airfield, we can use green lasers. Sorry, lasers.
And
Got away
we're
with the word
we're
green.
all card carrying laser people now.
Yes. And so that there is a sky tour early evenings, like stories and mains constellation sort of thing. And that's followed by a binocular table. Tony Schelling, who I think you've probably heard about, um, with the Ace Astronomer program that's out. Um, for years, Tony's been personing the binocular table, and it's very popular. There are sometimes we have to stop the dear soul. Okay, Tony, you've done two. That's it. Time to quit because it gets late, and we do set a limit for these types of activities so that the astro imagers aren't interfered with by the lasers that are being pointed
Yeah.
upwards.
Yeah, we do have the red light has to be on in the field at all times, no white lights.
Right.
Yep.
And what we've actually done is we got the park to actually cover up the bathroom lights with red and or with black garbage bags so that the light isn't shining out into the field. And the residents that are at the park are usually pretty good, but they're invited to come out if they want. And a couple of the last couple of years, Belleville has actually had the city councilors and the county councilors come out because they have a dark sky initiative that they're trying to get going on the South Bay. So they've come out and they've actually looked through the telescopes and we've shown them the sky and that sort of thing. But but another thing that we've also done is we have a swap table and a sell table, and you know, if you want to sell something, that usually gets the astronomers to bring their stuff and sell stuff.
I find that expensive.
It could be,
has
depending
been.
if there's good stuff. Yes.
Well, it seemed like good stuff at the time.
Chris hasn't learned to leave his wallet at home yet.
No, I haven't learned. There's treasures there. There's treasures. Well, it seems we run a pretty parallel path in terms of the time that we go, and we time the event to, you know, when is the new moon, right? So we're looking for dark skies, and we also try and stay a week away. Kejimkujik National Park, an historic site, has a dark sky weekend, and they're either a week ahead of us or a week behind us, because we usually support them with that activity. But we're in August, mid-August, I think, if I remember
August
correctly.
22 to 24.
To 24.
And Dark Sky weekend is the weekend before.
Yeah. And you mentioned having a meal, an evening meal, and we have an astronomer's breakfast, which is where we buy a bunch of fruit and donuts, poisonous sugar things, and coffee and tea, juice, and that's popular. We just spread that out, and everybody's very happy, and it starts the day off well. People show up and get talking. It's quite very social. We have done like barbecues, where we bring barbecues and organize cooking and cooking on the barbecues. But
that's tough, isn't it?
that's a lot more work.
Yes.
And so the last couple of years, well, the last few years have been a bit of a challenge because there was the small COVID problem. Then we've had some hurricanes and
We had
things that drive
flooding
us up.
that stopped us 2 years ago from having it at Smiley's.
We had to cancel because they had heavy floodwaters did a lot of damage to the park.
Just to make you feel better, we've had the remnants of 2 of your hurricanes out here. Thank you very much. And one of them blew the roof off our observatory. So,
Oops. Well,
I'm glad we
sorry,
could share,
sorry
but
about that.
not to that extent.
This is awesome. I just want to interrupt real quick. Thank you guys for doing this. This is awesome talking to another group of the same size. We've been to Starfest probably 15 times. We've been to Summer Saskatchewan Star Party, and they are so out of our range of infrastructure and volunteers and organization that we can't even consider looking at them and what they do. But you guys are perfect. You're our size.
I don't think we'd want to be much bigger than we are. I mean, we've had as many as 50 or so people at Smiley's, and that would probably include some kids and spouses and I'm sure some pets as well. But I mean, it could get too big, which would be a bit of a problem. And so we've been less ambitious in the past few years to keep it simple, to less wear and tear on the volunteers. We do the astronomer's breakfast is a must, and we do a few presentations. Typically, we would have a theme for the weekend, and that's varied over the years. And then we try and get one of the volunteers to come up with a design for a T-shirt. So we have a T-shirt that we sell.
I've got our Nova East website front page up, so we can show them our website and the logo that we had for our last T-shirt.
If you would, please, Judy.
I'll see if I can share
Lisa
this.
Lisa did that, didn't she?
She did do that. Kim, you're well informed. There's obviously spies in our center.
We hang out at your meetings. We go to the astronomy by the day.
What you see at the top of the screen here is our observing field. The tree line is where all the tents, or some of the tents, are up against that tree line. That leaves this center part all open for telescopes. The lower field also is a tenting area. The event building that Chris mentioned is here in the trees, so that the lights from it and the washroom is down here
A little
somewhere, so
farther.
they're well away from our observing field and don't have any interference per se. There are no fires allowed in this part of the park. If the astronomers want a fire, they have to book a regular campsite to have a fire.
Yeah, the regular parks, campsites start across the road, if you will, to the left. But
Yeah.
we've never, I don't think we've really had any problem with them at
No,
all. And
no.
then, as Judy said, you can see there's a logo there.
Yeah, this is the one we had last year.
Stars
Yeah,
and Birds.
Stars and Birds.
And
And due to the poor weather, that was our attendance.
Yeah, where we are at the RV park, there's actually a garage there, and that's where we actually hold the talks
Yep.
and our meal at night. There's tables that are set up inside, and the it's actually quite nice because if it does get rather nasty out, at least we can close the door and stay dry.
Yeah.
And but if it's warm, the door can open, people can sit outside and talk and that sort of thing. And then we have off to the one side, you have shade, so you usually gather there in the afternoon and talk and that sort of thing. And we do the picture. And we did one year, we had the wine tour. And usually there's an event going on in the county at the same time, so people can go to that through the day if we don't have any formal afternoon talks going on or a nighttime talk. One year we actually had downtown do the training for the green laser light point. So everybody that wanted to get their training got it then. And it was just one way to get everybody in one area and do the training all at once.
Yep.
And so it's I don't think we could get it any bigger or do any bigger. And I like the smallness of it because you can walk around everybody's telescope and talk and that sort of thing. Or then if you just want to do your observing thing, you can. And so I think there's something there for everybody. And I don't think we'd want to change it up that much. It would be nice to have a little more, possibly a little few more speakers come on board. But, we're really low on volunteers. And so it's pretty laid back.
Because we start with trying to pick a theme for the event, and as you saw, that one was Stars and Birds, and that suggestion came from Dave Chapman, who you may know by reputation, Rascal. Anyway, and he had prepared a talk about, and he's been doing stuff with telling stories about the stars and stuff, but he focused on the different birds that are to be found in the sky. And that was part of it. Lisa worked on the T-shirt, which was great. And the poor girl never even made it. She wasn't able to come up, which was really a shame. We did send her a T-shirt though. That was good. And then afterwards, we've had in the past, we've had a committee, and they put forward ideas for topics and speakers. And sometimes it relates to the theme, and sometimes it's just something of interest. The theme is sometimes related to some astronomical event of that year. Can be. And then we go around and, well, press gang some people into talking for us. We've gone through our center a couple of times using all our in-house speakers. They've been we're blessed here to have some very capable people, and with a lot of experience, and who've been involved with different things. So it's been good that way. I mean, we have what else did we have? I mean, we can show you a little list of what we have done for speakers and kind of workshops. Sometimes we have a little workshop, and we've tried to support people by having telescope medics. So if you had an issue with your scope or didn't know how to use it, that you could, somebody would come up and assist you. I see Gary Weber just joined us. Welcome, Gary. And
Somebody that was there, MacBook.
well, it seemed to me I saw Gary. So
Yeah.
anyway, we have a list of themes here for some past years, and these were usually somehow manipulated into becoming some kind of a design that related to it on a T-shirt, and then that we pay about, I don't know, $25, $30 for a T-shirt, and the profits go back into our observing site at the St. Croix observing site, which is probably, I don't know what it is, 8 or 10 miles away from where we are, 45 minutes from Halifax. And so we try and that also to kind of cover the costs, because we also have door prizes, and in the past we used to try and I don't know, coerce telescope suppliers and stuff into giving us freebies and things, but and for the last number of years, the center has provided about like $600 or $700 taxes in to come up with a bunch of prizes, and people donate things, books or new pieces of equipment, or things they've come along, and so we have everybody gets a ticket, and we sort of distribute the prizes, and so that's been kind of fun.
Did you want the activities up, Chris?
Yes, if you would, please.
Oh, there's the workshops.
Yeah, so there's a workshop. So those are the things that we've worked, sort of shared some skills and stuff on, and we have a variety of people in-house, as you probably do as well, who have their interests and have followed them for a while and are usually happy to share them if you can just, push them into a corner and talk to them. But sketching has become quite popular as a practice. Some days we lean towards the technology side, and other times it's more for observing and learning to observe, of which sketching is one of the activities.
And it's interesting to note how some topics keep getting recycled simply because there's new information, or there's a new group of people there, or maybe you were there when, for instance, when sketching in 2003 was presented, but you didn't attend that session, but you're now attending in 2018, and you do. So I mean, it just gives people that opportunity to attend these various ones when and if they can.
Yeah, some of us can't remember that far back anyway, so it's all new. So so it's so we have a variety of workshops, and we at times we have tried to kind of fill the day with activities, and that we really felt was really a bit too much. So we usually there's a talk on the Friday evening when we arrive. And if you remind me, Judy, I think we usually have one, what is it, late morning on Saturday?
Yeah.
And then
a workshop in the afternoon.
Workshop in the afternoon, and then usually our keynote speakers often on I think on Saturday evening.
Our keynote used to be on Friday nights, but then we recognized there was a challenge for some folk to get out of Halifax and down to the park to listen to them. So
and get set up.
Saturday.
Yeah. And all of ours are scheduled for Saturday afternoon, just in case Friday night was clear and everybody stayed up all night. So
yeah.
Yeah.
And we've had speakers from away, and the center has been good about subsidizing the cost of that, and we any money that we would make would go into to cover that. And I guess maybe one of the notable ones with John Dobson came a number of years ago. He's passed away now for a few years back. But bringing people from a distance is expensive in terms of transportation and hotels and and feeding them and stuff. And it's hard for a small center to carry. I mean, I think at one point there was a subsidy that we could get from National.
It's long
for-
since gone.
Yeah, which is long since gone, but I think we made use of that 1 or 2 years.
We
So
did. We brought someone in from Tobermory, actually, husband and
Yeah.
wife.
that's right.
Recording in progress.
And you can see we also have on the Sunday, you'll see on the list in front of you Sherman-Williams Nature Walk, which is Sherwin-Williams was a long-term member of the Halifax Center, and also I think it was there's also another group in the Valley, and he seemed to participate in a number of things, very knowledgeable about birds and plants and everything. So we just head off into the woods, and he fills a couple of hours. At times we've had also Roy Bishop who's taught physics for a long time and is able to make physics accessible for the rest of us. And he's taken us down to see the tides kind of work their way up the rivers and things, and he would predict exactly the tide, and he would
Tidal
explain
bore.
the tidal bore, and he would explain all the physics that was involved and how the bore happened and where the wave happened and what happens was it climbs up the bank, and then he would take us down. And then what else was another time was I think Venus was setting, and I think when Venus sets, sometimes you get a little green glow.
Yeah, he took it was literally a 5-minute ride outside the park, and the dear soul went exploring before Nova East weekend and landed in this farmer's driveway. And the farmer arrived and said, "Who are you and what are you doing here?" And Roy said, "Well, who are you and what are you doing here?" So long and short was he explained what was going to happen, and the guy approved it. So there was a group of about 12 of us that went to this farmer's driveway, and we watched Venus set, and there was that green flash.
Yeah.
Really cool.
So as we've been blessed with having, and Roy's an exceptional person in terms of his knowledge and experience and his ability to share and to teach with us. So we've been very lucky that way. So those are kind of some of the things that we've done, and that's taken a number of years and kind of compressed it into a few minutes of description. But we've tried not to overdo it with activities, because it kind of hurts the socializing, and then you start to get a little bit tired. Well, I got to go do this now, and I got to do that now, and that wasn't it wasn't all about education. It was it's some learning and some fun. So. And it sounds like pretty much. Hi, Matt. Haven't seen you for a while.
I was going to say, hey, Matt.
Matt's from down in New England, and
So we need his input because we got to get him back up.
oh, that's right. Yes, that's right. Before they close the border.
Yeah.
I'm laughing at that story at Roy, so
Yeah, it was.
that
Yeah, it was good.
was funny.
Yeah. So Kim and Kevin are from a center in Ontario,
And John Hurley's here too. Hi,
Yep.
John.
John as well.
and anyway, and so we've just been sharing, how we've had our star parties and kind of how they were structured and the kind of facilities that we've had and not liked, and the facilities that we do like. It kind of, and it's pretty much parallel in terms of what we like to do, and certainly male and female toilets and showers are very popular. But we've been anyway. So we've been fortunate, and we've had a formula of sorts for how we would do this. We'd have a template from what we've done in past years, and I think actually if you went online and you typed in Nova East, then I think you would find there's pieces of one of our websites of when we would be doing a registration, and that gives you, I think, an idea of some of the activities and and the kind of the timing.
novaeast.rask.ca.
We actually had a member out of Belleville who sells eco coffee. So he supplies some for Saturday morning and Sunday morning, but he also sells it to the group. So anybody who wants to buy different, dark roast, medium roast, that sort of
Yep.
thing. So if you know anybody who has coffee or eco coffee down there, you might want to invite them and have them come
Just
and
us,
that sort of
not
thing.
too far away.
And also what's really good too is farmers market. If you have anybody that has a farmers market close by, bring in veggies. That's good. Good prime time. It's in the fall.
Yep.
Okay. I'll throw in some financial stuff. We budget this event to be break even. We have lost money on years, and sometimes we have a small surplus. We split that with the Rask Belleville Center, who we partner with. It's about $2,500, the whole budget, and that includes everybody's camping fees, the dinner, and the registration fee, and that's about it. So it's a very low money resource from the center. We don't. The center itself may throw in a little bit of door prize money, but the vast majority are donations from attendees.
Yeah.
And we have enough donations for door prizes to go around the room twice or sometimes 3 times. People
Wow.
love that. And some of it is pretty substantial stuff. Binoculars, eyepieces, computers, books, you name it.
Wow.
And so people really like that part as well.
Honey and garlic.
Oh, yeah, homemade stuff again, yeah.
Oh.
Your workshop idea sounds
Combination,
great.
Tim, honey and garlic.
Yeah, yeah. And we've had the farthest away invited speaker we have may have been Rock Malin from Ottawa and Ray Kahn from Toronto and that kind of thing, but nobody that cost us a lot of money at all. Basically, we cover their camping fees and their dinner and their registration. So, $100 maybe.
What's his name? Alan Dyer came out in
Came down.
2015 or 16, somewhere in that neighborhood.
I'm afraid to ask, how much did he cost?
I don't
don't-
think,
I
I
don't
think
know.
all we did was provided
Oh, okay.
camping and meals is basically what we did.
You must have
Okay.
been traveling.
Yeah, awesome.
Probably. Anyway, he had a good time, and we
Yeah.
sat around in the evenings and stuff with him, and chatted about many told lies and stuff. It was good. It was very good. Financially, it sounds we're very similar. I think we're a little over $2,000. I think is our. I didn't look at those numbers, and my memory's not that great anymore. But and we've generally broken even. There's only been a few years in the past where we might have gone over a bit, and that's I think when we brought somebody in from away.
Yeah.
And generally there's a profit, not necessarily a big one, and I think the general agreement is that it goes to cover the money would then go into our observatory site for maintenance and equipment and stuff if there's any
Yeah,
surplus.
We, if memory serves me correctly, our board does have a budget line for Nova East, and I believe it's $5,000 as a start fund, so that if we were to bring a speaker from away, we would have startup money.
Yeah, we have a fund dedicated to the Star Party as well
I don't
for
know that it's
startup
5,000, but
costs.
it's somewhere up
Yeah.
there anyway. And
Yep.
typically, the event between our registration fees, actually just the registration fees and the camping fees, it pays for itself.
So I'm looking at, yours are $40, ours are 15. Camping fees, yours are 13, ours are 30. Does yours include admission to the provincial park, I guess is the question.
We just drive in.
We just
Okay,
drive in.
So
We
yes,
have we have an arrangement with the park. You saw that great big field we showed
Yep.
you the picture of. We set up the campsites per se
Okay.
on that field so that we allocate them ourselves. We keep track of how many sites, how many people, and then we pay the park
Yep.
after the event accordingly.
So
Yeah.
here in
They have-
Ontario, for you to drive through the front gate, you have to pay up $30 or so. So just right there and then per day. So they're much more expensive just for the entrance to the provincial park, which is why we're not there anymore.
Mm.
they're almost like national parks then. I mean, same
Yeah.
sort of premise.
Yeah.
Huh. Okay.
You know,
And-
no, I was a bit surprised that we don't get stopped at the gate. They say, well, just drive in. You guys know your way around, right?
Wow.
And I think it's partly because we've always been open to sharing with the
Mhm.
with the visitors in the park.
Yeah.
I think
And people over because we've been there for about 30 years now at that particular park, except for 4 years when 2 years of COVID and 1 year of flood, and then last year we couldn't be there because they weren't sure whether or not they would be open.
Mhm.
But barring that, yeah, people expect that when come this time of year, oh, we got to wait for, like Nova East is that particular weekend, so we can go camping in and enjoy it. So the park benefits from us being there because they know
Absolutely.
that we do those outreach type events
Yeah.
for who's
Yeah.
ever there.
And the
Right.
last thing on your registration form was t-shirts. We used to do t-shirts in the beginning for probably 10 or 15 years, but it was a one-person volunteer job, and that person stopped doing it, and nobody stepped up to take that over again. So it
Well-
was a little bit of a moneymaker.
Yeah, Lisa,
Yeah.
Lisa Ann, we've been blessed with her as a member. She has designed the t-shirts for what, the last 3 years, Chris?
think so.
Good
I mean,
anyway.
we got 2 years out of the last one because
It's true.
we got wiped out the
Yeah,
first
yeah.
Hmm.
And so she designs it, and our treasurer just happens to live about 5 minutes away from the company that manufactures them.
Wow.
And so he picks them up and brings them with him.
Yeah, yeah.
So it works out well that way.
But as you say, there is a little bit of work in the organization, and they got to make sure that they get picked up and delivered, and it's not always fair for Greg to. I actually went up to Truro, which is about 60 miles away, and picked them up and brought them down.
Yeah.
And but and yeah, and talked very nicely with Lisa through the process, the design process, and so but you're right, it's a bit more effort, and that was the same thing was when we've had some times when we had a big potluck, and we've had barbecues where we would barbecue things. We had a big breakfast too thing, I think, didn't we? I think we did the astronomer's breakfast, and we supplemented it with.
We had a bannock breakfast, pancake,
right.
sausage, and bannock.
That's right.
You should know
Yes.
because you were the chef at one of those
I was. That's right.
with your
I had.
cat apron.
With my cat apron on. That's exactly right. Anyway, but that means you got to transport the barbecues down there and get all set up, and and there's usually a run to, here we'd likely go to Costco for some stuff, and our superstore or whatever for other
And-
things.
and-
It's all that stuff to do.
Yeah. And because of all of that work, our dinners on Saturday is now pizza takeout and salad and pop. It was too much to do it anything more.
In the past, Paul Gray, bless his heart, he would actually, I mean, the Sunday would pay for the meat, but he would organize barbecuing the meat, be it a big pork roast, barbecue, whatever, sorry, burgers or whatever it was, and then the rest of us it was potluck.
And
Yeah.
we're just
Got
going
your
to say that
salad,
we
your
all know
dessert, your
Paul
bread,
Gray
your
is a
whatever.
big
So
overachiever.
yeah, and if anybody wanted anything specific, or had allergies, they were just
Yeah.
know so that we could then advise. Oh, speak of cats.
Speaking of cats,
Hey, Paul,
Hello.
welcome.
come
Thank
here.
you.
So I guess, I mean, we have a lot of commonality. One of the reasons we decided to have this chat was that, well, as we've said a few times now, between COVID, floods, and whatnot, our star party had been canceled. And so it seems like the desire to attend also sort of went down with our ability to provide it. And the weather last year didn't
Yeah.
cooperate either. So it wasn't a problem with the program. The program was phenomenal, but unfortunately the weather did us in.
Yeah. And there's a bit of
guess
volunteer burnout as well, and which is what you've experienced.
And I think what we're trying to do is sort of not really think outside the box, but maybe think outside the box. What can we do a little differently that would make Matt from Massachusetts say, "I'm going this year"? So what types of things, what should we be doing that we aren't doing? That wouldn't take a lot of money, a lot of time to organize, but it just makes the difference between I'm going or I'm not.
A question for you is how much competition would you have with your St. Croix Observatory and its events that bring people out from home and to make the Nova East different and more than that?
I think one of the primary reasons people come is, yeah, it's a really good observing site, but I think it's the socializing and getting to see people that one time a year and the commonality and meeting people from near and far that come to the park like that.
You-
And his friend that come up, and hopefully at some point Lisa Ann and Rob will come up, and we've had people from New Brunswick attending. So I mean, it's that socializing and getting to talk to people you don't get a chance to talk to the rest of the year.
Exactly. And I was going to bring up the people go there for the dark skies, but again, most of our center, all the members live out in dark skies. And so a dark sky site is not going to attract us at all. And same with Starfest. Starfest does not have good skies. We go for the speakers and for the socializing and meeting the people we haven't seen in a long time. So that's what we like to try to make our star party is something that, well, I'm not going to dismantle our observatories and bring them down to the star party for two nights and then take it all back again. So
yeah.
Well, that's part of the thing about going to St. Croix to go observing for the night or the evening, is you get there, you bring your gear out, you set your gear all up, you start to observe for a little while, and then either the weather changes or it's now you've been there for 3 hours, it's now time to go. So you don't really have the opportunity to kind of just sit around and put your feet up. There's always some chat and people look to see, what are you looking at? What gear have you got and all of that. But having it over a weekend, there's the different, you think differently about it. I mean, yeah, it's fine. We're going to get some observing in, but we really wanted to kind of talk and about stuff.
Astronomical events that happen are usually a big thing that you can, pump up if something big is going to happen in astronomy. But you might also want to, I don't know if you watch the Sunday night astronomy show with Chris Kerwin and Mike Powell and Paul Evans. Do you watch that? It's on YouTube.
We have a slight problem at that particular park that we're at, Smiley's. If you're standing on top of your car facing the right direction and holding your phone at the correct angle, you might have internet connection.
Oh. Well, I'm just saying that you might want to work with them because they like to go to star parties too. So that if you bring in a crowd, I guess like a crowd pleaser,
a media influencer.
Yeah, and media.
And one of them is from Nova Scotia, for that matter. Jerry, you might have an answer for that.
What's that?
One of them is from Nova Scotia, I thought.
Yeah. Yeah, they're New Brunswick, and yeah, there's 3 of them. They're in 3 different areas, and they get together online Sunday nights. Anyway, you can watch them on YouTube. Search them on YouTube, you'll see their show. But they end up going to, I think it's the Butterpot. No, not Butterpot. That's St. John's. They end up doing a star party in August. They go to a star party in August, early August. But you might want to talk to them and see if they want to come down. I mean, just in order to get some astronomy groups in your area together to be able to do a star party together.
And that would, there are certainly astronomy groups at the 2 universities here, Dalhousie and at SMU, St. Mary's.
Yeah.
That might be interested in attending if they're there. Yeah.
Now, can you camp at St. Croix, or is it just you go and no?
No. Unfortunately not. One of the things I'm sure Tony will agree, we're looking at one of the things that members have asked for are some bunks, if you will, out there. So that, especially for the astro imagers that are there, want to be there all night. Right now, there are a couple of zero gravity chairs that they can sleep in, but as you can appreciate, they aren't exactly a
Not
bed.
the same.
Um, but otherwise, no, there's no sleeping, and that's, I believe it's part of the agreement we have with the people we lease the land from, is that there is no,
No camping per se. Yeah, I think probably
yeah,
because this is private property that belongs to a kind of a power company that's also what used to be related to I think it was Pulp and Wood as well as I think. Anyway, it's a nice, it's a lovely setup, and they are very gracious to let us have use of their property, and most of the time it's protected behind a locked gate, like a couple of miles down the road, so it's it's quiet. So
we do have a key mechanism that members who have keys know how to access it, so that they can go through, lock it behind them, and go down to the observatory and reverse the process going home. It works well that way. So, I mean, there has been quite I mean, there is quite an extensive range of topics that have been addressed over the years. Everything from the physics of rainbows to that Roy presented one year to
What about, what
introduction.
about John Reed? I mean, he's getting his area set up in and
Yep,
down around Halifax, right?
Stargate, Nova Scotia, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not far from Peggy's Cove, actually.
So is it possible that you guys can get together there, or
but it's not quite civilized enough at the
yeah,
moment.
yeah,
It's
still
he's working on it.
planning. Yeah,
He has big dreams, and he gets a
yeah,
lot done.
yeah. I saw
Um,
that big dream.
yeah. And it's and we're also mindful of where people come from and what what travel is easy to
Yeah.
do, and all of those things. And I don't know about your center, but our center, the average age seems to be getting bigger, higher for some
Yeah.
reason. And
Yeah. Yep. Yep. Don't like driving at night.
Oh,
If you're gonna go someplace, you stay.
Wasn't that a very polite comment? It's just so sweet.
Oh, there's more and more gray hair at our meetings.
yeah,
Yes, there are. The thought just occurred to me. We also used to have a registration package for people showing up, and it would have the dates, times, events listed on a timeline. It would have etiquette. It would have astronomical events. It used to be like International Space Station passes. It used to have iridium flares back when we had those, all that kind of stuff too, so that a lot of people who were beginners would have a reference, and that we would also, for anything really big, we would tend to yell out in the field, "Hey, the ISS is about to come
coming over.
over!"
Yeah.
Blah 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 blah.
Yeah,
Um,
or there's that damn Starlink.
yeah. Oh well. Yeah. We haven't done what you've done formally as a scope help or help you set up or help you do that. It's all informal and it happens all the time. Perhaps it might be an idea for us to put in a formal little note somewhere in there to say, hey, if you need help with your stuff, see
Yeah.
X, something like that.
Yeah, sometimes people need a cable or a battery
yeah.
or something, and otherwise they're dead in the water.
So let's play a game. What would it take for any of you in Nova Scotia to come to Fallen Stars? And we will take your ideas seriously, and then you ask us, what would it take us to go to your Nova East?
Doesn't coincide with ours.
That's number one. That's good.
Which it probably doesn't, given we typically have ours in August or late July, and you have yours in September, right?
Correct.
Yeah. I think it would partly depend on if there was other reasons to go up there. It's a bit of a distance now, and Air Canada and WestJet are not cheap.
No, this is driving.
anymore. Are you driving? Yeah. Well, even and
Where
that-
is your
that
star
takes some
party
time.
located, Kevin?
Prince Edward County. I put it in the chat probably before you got here,
Oh,
but
I
if
was an
you
idiot.
find,
Yeah.
if you
Okay.
find, it's about 2 hours southwest of Kingston.
Okay, I am familiar with Ontario, so yeah.
Okay.
I've
And
observed just north of Kingston, what is it in Frontenac, the park that's up there?
yeah.
Yeah, that's gorgeous.
So
Yeah.
I'm going to speak for Kim and say that we probably would not drive out to Nova East for Nova East's sake itself.
Hmm.
But if we had other plans to visit in the area, which we do, and we would maybe adjust the times and try to
Yep.
attend
Yep.
as something else going on. But unfortunately, that's out of your control. If you brought in Carl Sagan as a speaker, we would come.
I'd go.
Good luck on that
that
one.
that's about all I could really think of for somebody far away. So you're looking at a more local target
Yeah.
audience.
Yeah, you have to get into the whole idea of ecotourism or astronomy tourism. Like we would go to Nova East and then you would do other things in Nova Scotia and
Yeah.
Lunenburg and that sort of thing, and you plan a vacation around it. So I
For
know that's what we ended up doing when we went to the I think it was the GA down east. And we ended up doing our whole vacation around that and did different things and did different traveling events as well. So that's something you should look at.
I mean, for Jerry and I, that depends upon when in September. Um, Jerry's brother has a cottage north of Kingston in Bob's Lake. And so we do have family up that way. And we have family in Northern Ontario. So again, it would, like you said, Kim, if there was another reason to be there, um, to go visit
That's
family
my
and friends
that's
with.
my specific reason, Kim, why I am up here. My family's from Nova Scotia, so I just plan everything around in August and I'm good. So, and it works out. The other thing is where I live just outside of Boston, we don't have dark skies anymore, so you have to
No.
travel 6 to 8 hours to get anything even remote. So for me to just go to Nova Scotia via the ferry is 6 to 8 hours simple, or I go north up to like Maine or Mount Carlton Provincial Park. If I'm in Ontario visiting my family, if I come home on the north side, there's a million places on the north side of the lake that I can observe. But where I am, you literally have to go 8 hours in any given direction. The star parties are not near major metropolitan centers like they are with Rask. You're like an hour, not even an hour from Halifax. You're 20 minutes from Windsor, so you have enough city, but enough dark that it works really well. And you have facilities. Most of our star parties, because of insurance requirements in the United States, are on private property or campgrounds. So you have to deal with all of that as well. And I think the fact that you have the whole thing with the provincial parks is really good because they do publish it a little bit. Now, I know when I was involved in '07, '08, and '09, this was the tent days before we got the building. The reason why we didn't pay the fees, the provincial park fees, is we did one day Saturday morning an open sort of event for the park, and they waived it. At least that's what I was told by Blair and the
That's
park lady
probably
when we
true.
had had an attendant there. It's all unattended now. So, and the fact that you have facilities, a campground where most people know that we are observing. So usually after about 10 o'clock at night, it's dark, like really dark. I would have to travel, like I said, 6 to 8 hours to get anything the equivalent of Nova East around me. Um, I like the family friendly atmosphere. It's pretty good. You can actually bring your spouse, your kids to this. There are bathrooms, washrooms, facilities. It's
Mhm.
nice, it's basic, but it works.
And a
Uh,
playground.
it's basic, it works. For people like me, an added bonus that come from the United States, it's way cheaper. So that helps out. And now that they're doing more stuff on the ferry, I know I've been a Bay Ferries person for years, and they always ask me, and I always put this, and I tell them to put Nova East like they do the Wart Raft Rally, because I know the people that run the rally, because I have friends down in Digby and Smith Cove, and I said, put this in your brochures, because if we have it around that week, they're already up here for Bike Week. Have them roll in. Why not? You know? But that's the thing is it's just around me there are no dark skies, so it makes sense to come up here and observe because obviously I have friends and family. I know the facilities, it's cheaper, it's really good. I'm not out in the middle of nowhere with a dirt pad and a vault toilet and nothing else. I want to be somewhat civilized now. Um, but I think the only other thing I would change is the fact that I think we're jamming too much stuff in the schedule. Have like a keynote speaker and a meet and greet, on the first night on Friday. Keep it low key, one thing. and then have like one or two things in the morning on Saturday, and then maybe one or two things in the afternoon on Saturday, and maybe one breakfast on Sunday morning, and we're all good. So I do like the muffins and the bannock. That was solid. But that's why it is worth traveling. We just don't have dark skies. Same thing like if I'm going up in the Kingston area, if I'm visiting one of my uncles that lives out in Lowellville, New York by Fort Drum, and if I want to get dark skies and be outside of the military reservation, I'll just cross the bridge over Thousand Islands and go up towards Kingston area. I mean, Million Lakes, the park, everything, it's pitch black. It's wonderful. But we just don't get that here in the Northeast United States anymore. That's the huge draw of your star party, is just the fact that you're near a semi-major metropolitan area that you can fly in or easily drive in or take a ferry and still have a really good dark sky and see the sky.
Okay.
Well, that sounds like a good idea, is to go with your dark sky event. And how dark are your skies at Smiley's Park? And really work that, because I mean there's a lot of talk on the light pollution committee now, right? So really pump up your dark skies and put your Bortle rating and that sort of thing. Really throw that out there and explain what the Bortle rating means and what dark skies are and that sort of thing, if you want to try to get more people out.
Matt, do you think we could actually get people from the States to come if we had a mechanism of letting them know?
Yes, I would say I know St. Mary's. I'm not familiar with the Dalhousie Astronomy Group, but I know St. Mary's has one. You'd be surprised if they contacted like Harvard and the Harvard Astronomy Group, because they have quite a network in Boston. They would easily put something on their page about this and broadcast it up here, especially again because a lot of people where I live have family up this way, New Brunswick and Nova Scotia and PEI. So you'd be very surprised. And given the fact that this year it is very cheap, it's to travel up here. So I think you would attract more people, especially if they were in the situation like me. I think the only thing is timing. I prefer my star parties in the cooler months like September and October, plus you get the longer nights. That's just me, and less bugs. But yes, I think you would get more people if you push that. I do get questions all the time from a lot of local astronomy groups about Kejimkujik, because it's well known that that's a dark sky site, and people wanting to come up here and possibly camp and utilize that. I actually just had one of my neighbors who took his kids through the Kejimkujik and the Tobiac Wilderness, and had a ball, took a little scope with them. And he was like, "This is incredible. Like, it is pitch black." I'm like, "Yep, it's an 8-hour drive and boom, you have complete darkness. Something you just don't see around my neck of the woods." So I see Kevin. I stopped because I saw Kevin's hand.
Okay.
Quick question for Kim and John. Do you remember if we apply to Rask National for insurance for this event? I don't remember.
I do not think we have, because it's being held on the
On private property, but
private property.
but it's public and we invite the public. So
Well, we would have
We'll
to
have to-
apply for
we'll
it.
have to check that. Well, maybe we do. We've been running it for so many years now. Somebody else is looking after the lead, and we forget things.
One of
Yeah,
my
I'm
local,
not sure we are actually telling National about it for insurance purposes.
We'll have to check.
one of my local
Understanding of the
astronomy groups.
Insurance is, as long as it's a RASC sanctioned event, we're covered. We center traditionally has applied for one just to have it, just to make sure. And it's posted in the events building so that people know we have insurance along with our emergency response. What
Yeah,
do you have?
I thought we would be covered by the Rask insurance if something were to happen, because it is a center sanctioned event.
But you generally have to have the documentation that they know about the event. And the only way that we have it registered with the RAS right now is it goes online under Star Parties. That's it.
And they scare and threaten us that we have to register it in advance. So
I thought that changed years ago. Maybe not. We'll
But
have to
no.
look into that.
Yeah,
Here in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, we used with my local astronomy group, we used to have a place, an astronomy meet, sort of a very low-key astronomy event down at Miles Standish State Forest. It's one of our largest state forests near Cape Cod. And to have any function over 5 people in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts in a state park or forest, you need a minimum of a $5 million insurance policy. So it requires a $5 million policy that covers personal, liability, and medical. And it's all laid out in a binder, and you have to get it. So when our astronomy group goes, we would get a binder and then get a rider on the insurance that we already had. And basically, we would have to charge our admission fee to include that plus anything else to make sure we broke even. So, and it
Yes.
usually worked out okay. There were every once in a while we had like a rent a tent or something, and that screwed up our budget. But other than that, we either broke even or over a couple of $100. But you couldn't step foot on the property, and they would check it. Ranger would come by and check it because you were a sanctioned group over 5 persons, and they were super strict about that. So I always wondered that. I knew about the whole thing about the fees, but I never knew about the insurance. So interesting.
So John, given you're a member of the National Council like I am, maybe this is something we should put on the agenda as clarification of the insurance for star parties.
That, yeah, excuse me. Yeah, maybe we should do that. I was just trying to search through the drive to see what I could find. And I'm not coming up with it yet. Maybe, would that be in the operations manual that's been updated?
Basically what I do is I go into the search button on the website and
Uh,
for insurance, and it'll come up. For liability insurance, but liability. It'll come in.
And another thing I also like about Nova East is the registrar tends to mix this up. So even though if you like, I apply early because of the way I have to deal with my vacation at work. I like the fact that you mix people up. We tend to get into our herds and commonality. It's nice to meet new people, and the way our star party is set up with the upper and lower tiers and the way it's set up with the tents, you'd be surprised how well that works. So it's something that gets overlooked, but the fact that you meet random people, like I've met
Yep.
so many random people like that, Chris, Jim. So and
Yeah.
I would never know about him unless he said, "Oh, this is my podcast. This is what I do." But I think that's really good too. And the fact that we can have a mix of tents, campers, RVs, and have your scope literally right out your doorstep. That's huge.
Yeah, the only specification we make for RV, if someone does have an RV, one of two things happens. Either depending upon the number of registrations, they get put down into the lower field,
Lower field
or else at the very end of the field,
and
with their lights pointing out.
the other way.
Yeah, we have a set of rules of etiquette rules in terms of
Yeah.
so as you say, the headlights point out, and I think if you're going to leave before, you have to leave before 3 or something. If you do have to leave, or if we ask you to take your car out to near the exit, if you're going to be late leaving, because otherwise you would then tend to wake up people. So there's a whole bunch of etiquette that we've worked on over the years and tried to polish. It's pretty simple. And the only laser pointers are the ones that are used for instruction at the beginning of the evening. No one's allowed to use them as part of their kind of observing or astrophotography. It just too disturbs too much. That's all.
And the last thing I'll add, and I'll be quiet, is obviously Sherman's no longer with us. I always like doing something that's either astronomy related or astronomy centric. Like we did the tidal bore one year, we did the Venus thing. That was pretty hilarious. What else do we do? Like I said, the tidal bore, the nature's walk. We've done a couple of things where we go somewhere off of Nova East, and I think that's pretty cool to do something like that.
Yeah.
And if it ever tied in, that's a pretty cool thing because like the first time I took my friend Kevin, who has the 20-inch scope up there, he was amazed and he's like, "Yeah, I've never seen the tidal bore before." So Roy Sherman and a whole bunch of us pack into vehicles. He randomly knocks on somebody's door because we park here in the corner. It's all good. We see a tidal bore. It's super cool. It's caused by the moon and tides. I think that's also a draw as well because some of those things are unique to our province. And it gives a good mix because not everybody wants to do straight up astronomy stuff. So
Yeah. It's how our world is affected by what's above us, right?
yeah.
So I guess one of the keys then to answer your question, Kevin, about what would make you come to your star party or you to ours, is that maybe we should make note of other events that are adjacent to our party and make that be known too, you know, come to us and, you know, you can participate in this, this, and this, on either side of our event.
That wouldn't hurt at
Visit
all,
one of the
especially
20
since you've
or
got
30
you've got some
wineries that are in the province and very close by.
you've got some fantastic attractions nearby. Peggy's Cove, uh, the Curse of Oak Island. We drove right by it back there before we knew it was a thing, and we went to Shag Harbor, and we went to the Annapolis Valley, which was closed for spraying, and so yeah, if we're can be made aware of things that are happening on that specific time or just that are always there in general close by, that would influence our decisions and possibly even more people closer to you. But then you get back into that, is too many people a bad thing? We are limited at our location to probably around 50 people max. And until we get to that problem, we're not going to go looking for another location. So
I'm not sure how many we had in attendance when we were in the heyday way back when. I know that the upper and lower fields were
50s.
full, so
In the 50s, I believe, Judy.
wouldn't it be higher than that?
I think the highest we've been there, we've almost hit 70 one year. I think it was like 2010 before the first hurricane that I allegedly caused hit in 2011. This is why I don't get invited to star parties for the folks that don't know me. I show up and we have a hurricane and then I get blamed.
Well, you must have had new equipment. That always brings that on.
No, I don't bring it just because of that. And then Kevin shows up with his 20-inch and it's awesome. I'm just like, what's going on here? So
Judy, I forget the exact numbers the first couple of years. I could probably dig them up, but there's probably a record somewheres. But we had pretty strong attendance the first couple of years coming back when we returned the party to Smiley's.
That's one of the things. I have a book that I started on the history of Nova East.
You had to bring that up.
Things that I didn't collect were numbers of attendance because, to be fair, they're very seldom mentioned as to how many.
Yeah.
Which is maybe something we should get in the habit more, but just so the Kingston group realized that Nova East actually started off as a joint venture of New Brunswick and
Yeah.
Nova Scotia, and our parties were at Fundy National.
Fundy.
But due to fog and other such situations that Fundy typically has, we decided to have our own party, and that's how Nova East began. And that was, when did we stop going to Fundy? I need my glasses. I got small font.
Monday might be the star party that Chris Kerwin was talking about.
2000 was the first one at Smiley's.
2000. I was trying to remember. Yeah, the when it came back from Nova Scotia, the first organizing committee was myself, John Jarvo, and Daryl DeWolf. And
I got a number for that year, Paul.
See, I knew from a registration perspective we had to write it down.
65 registered with over 80 attendees.
Wow.
Right on.
So there we go. That was back then.
Trying to remember who the guest speaker was.
Doug Pitcairn on Astrotalk, Roy Bishop on the tides, Sherman Williams on the interpretive hike, Clint Shannon solar observing, Reg Henderson solar observing, Dave Ling collimation, and Dave Chapman sundial workshop.
If we were trying to draw people from away to come to our star party, then I think there'd be a little bit more pressure on the organizers to make sure that we had, good presentations and things, to try and make it worth their while. I mean, if you're bringing, making a point of inviting people, then you would want it to be a good, relatively good show. I mean, I think all the things that we've done in the past have been good. I must say, and I imagine we'll probably carry on that way.
I'll have to throw in that our speakers on Saturday afternoon tend to be warm bodies who volunteer. They are not vetted in any way whatsoever.
Oh
So,
no, these aren't vetted. These are just people we can kind of press gang, or we know have an interest in something,
or
and we
rely
kind of,
on.
yeah, and we kind of nudge them into sharing that. But they're very good, and we've, and some of them have been taught at university and stuff. So there's some people with good background. So we've been
Does
lucky.
does Queen's University have Queen's has an astronomy program, does it not? Can you
Yes.
glean any speakers from there without
Queen's astronomy is cosmological in nature, and they go eyepiece. What's an eyepiece? That kind of
Okay.
thing.
The I mean, we have found working with especially the folks in St. Mary's, that you can usually find the two or three that are good at public outreach, and
Yeah.
even if they're talking about a science-oriented presentation, they can make it reachable to a public audience.
Yeah.
And then there's others not so. So yeah.
Yeah.
I just on the point of because one thing we had talked about, way back when, was the, sort of the opportunity to bring in, you'd kind of have the usual things through the year, but your center meetings and that sort of thing. But at Nova East, maybe having the opportunity to bring in somebody from out of town, a quote unquote bit of a big name, but or big name, or somebody who's um, kind of brings up a little bit of a mix to the usual crowd. And that's a bit of an attraction for sure. And usually it's about, reaching out early and making plans with that person so that they're fitting it in with whatever else they're doing. And so sometimes that can be a good thing. I think, Chris, to your point about, and to the discussion on the table and things that Matt brought up, I think I don't know that we'd ever made a focused market. I can't remember making a focused marketing effort to reach into the
No.
Northeast US,
No,
and
we haven't.
either through aligned organizations or a bit of advertising or that sort of thing. And I think that could be effective. But I think it's also important to kind of, you know, present it for what it is, right? Like, a fairly, like, astronomy club centered, people, we get visitors every year. It's a good chance to socialize. If you pitch it a little bit grassroots, then, and that's what
Yeah.
people are looking for, you're not the Florida Star Party or something else, and I think that's a fine way to go. Just,
Yeah. Realistic expectations as to,
yeah.
and let
Or
let the site actually, do most of the work for you.
yeah.
One more thing, John Hurley, National Council rep, dude. National used to run a list of Canadian star parties. I'm not finding that on the national site anymore. Mark Kay was somewhat involved in that, and Christine Kulik from Saskatoon used to be the one that would poll us all on the benefit, perhaps, of Sky News,
Page
which is now gone.
352 of the Observer's Handbook.
No, not Observer's Handbook. No, online. Observer's Handbook. Oh my God.
Yes, you mean
Thanks, Roy.
52. Nice try.
Yes, I do remember, Kevin, that they used to have that on the website, but
it used to, it was a map that actually had them
The calendar
listed.
does.
And I think it was actually somebody from Calgary Center that actually worked on the map online.
Yeah, their webmaster dude.
Yep.
But anyway,
I think a lot of things that used to be on the website kind of went on the wayside as national office took over running that and
A
took
lot
it
of
out of the
things.
hands of the Walter and the other volunteers.
Yes, out
it
of
may
the
be
volunteers'
worthwhile
hands.
to put back onto their agenda again. Did somebody say page 352? Because my Observer's Handbook just
No.
has 353 pages.
Turn to
it's-
page
Yeah.
turn to page 11 of your handbook. 11 through 13 lists all the observatory, star parties, and planetaria.
Yeah. But the website, if you actually go under observing, there's a star parties menu.
Okay, observing. I used the onboard search and I didn't find anything at all, which of course means our onboard search. Oh, and there's nothing there either, really.
But then the site will be updated soon, so we don't know what we'll
Oh,
find.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's badly out of date. It's 2023.
yep.
It's
Yeah.
got one listed for New Zealand in the handbook on page 11. So there's 3 pages of star parties.
Well, let's all go there.
Yeah, that would be good. That
Oh,
would be good.
Butterpot
So-
Provincial Park in Newfoundland. This is the one you were talking about earlier. I didn't realize it was in Newfoundland.
So
Huh.
all of us are Rask members who have been around, and we didn't think to look to the website, didn't think to look to the calendar. Redundancy is key.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah,
to have your own local folks
Nova
know.
East is there, and so is our observatory on page 11. So, now is Kingston there though?
So Kevin and Kim, do you have any tips on how to nudge volunteers into doing presentations and things? Do you have a particular technique that you use? Do you take them to the bar and feed them a few drinks and then soften them
I-
up?
No, I think if you present it at maybe your next meeting or have another meeting, say, okay, we want to have a start party and this is the agenda. Just show them the agenda, and if you have certain points of what jobs need to be done, break it down small. So you might get somebody to actually do a small job instead of where if they just see a whole, title thinking, oh no, I don't want to do that, but they might do something small. That you might get more members coming on board.
I was going to say get them drunk and take blackmail pictures, but no, that doesn't work. We don't have an observatory, so we're not on page 11, and I don't see fallen stars here either. But then again, how would you get on that list? Yeah,
Let the editor of the handbook know.
but we shouldn't have to do that. They should be soliciting for stuff, and how do they update this, and that kind of thing. Yeah.
I'm trying
Okay.
to remember who bugged me about when is the Nova East date. I know I got asked about it, but I'm not sure if it was official or whether it was just somebody involved in the
Yeah.
production
Well,
of
we'll have to kick some
polls.
cans.
It would have been Paul Gray when he was editor of the calendar.
Yeah.
Wow, even Chile's, that's the ESO, never mind. It's not a
Yeah.
star party, it's an observatory.
Oh, I see one. There's one in Australia.
I see our fallen stars is not in there, so maybe
No.
when James starts asking about the solar section update, I can let him know about fallen stars to go in there.
Yeah.
And I will say, since we're on the topic of speakers, I was corralled by Jim, Chris, and the late Dave Lane for a year to do something.
And it was very good.
I don't think it was that good. It was boring, but it was good.
No,
Well, for
what-
you it was,
what
but
was
for
it?
us it was quite interesting.
was
'cause we
novel for
don't know
us.
much about radio astronomy.
What was it?
Yeah.
Guilt? Canadian maple syrup? What?
Radio, no, it was Dave Lane because Dave and a couple of our folks that were in the center do stuff with computers, radio stuff. So I'm in a big radio guy. So for like a year, they asked me to do a presentation on radio astronomy. I'm like, Finally, I got corralled in a corner by Dave Lane in a
Okay.
winery.
You know,
In a winery at
Oh,
Italy
that's the
Cross,
secret.
where he showed up, and I bumped into one of his friends. He's like, "I am buying this bottle of wine. You are doing a speech." I'm like, "Okay."
Okay. John, Kim, write down this guy's name, and we're gonna get him to give us a talk. Yeah. You and me will compare radio talks.
But I do like having a local person from the center. It's really nice because you'd be surprised the amount of diversity we have in the center. So,
Hmm.
yeah, and the vastness of topics.
Yeah, you think when you say astronomy, it's look up and observe, but there's so much more that you
Yeah.
discover that
So when you're talking radio astronomy, what part are you talking about? What are you doing? Only because we do it. So we want to know.
I think it's recorded somewhere. This is a general overview. I hit some topics about when it was started, the history of it, some local stuff that was happening at that time. And then I think the last section I did is, if I recall correctly, something about specific people that were involved in radio astronomy or radio science from Canada.
So
Okay,
it's time for an
good to know.
update then, is it, Matt?
I'm not volunteering unless it involves wine or a beverage.
It
Oh,
would.
that could be
Oh, yeah.
arranged.
Not a problem.
See, Matt, this is how we got Judy to talk to our center. We just kept at it, kept at it, kept at it.
But you are right to point out, if you do ask somebody, just ask them early, because obviously you got to put that together. Everybody has lives, they're running around. This just randomly popped into my head. I don't know if he actively speaks anymore, but David Levy was at our center a few years ago, and I wonder if he would come back, because he was really good.
We've had him speak at our center.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say David's health is the big issue there.
That's
and it's
It's interesting. We had Tony Schellink, who does the binocular table, right, and does an amazing job. Gave a talk last year at Nova East on women in astronomy, like the history of women's and the contributions they have made to astronomy. And he spoke for well over an hour and a half on that, and you know and he'd had to reduce the scope of his project, which was very, very interesting. So sometimes you know people have interests and background that you have no idea about. Because I wouldn't have picked Tony to be someone that would have done a bunch of research on women in astronomy. So
Tony, is that one of the things we got because the attendance was so low this past year at Nova East? The speakers that were there, Tony, Dave Hoskin,
Dave Lane, or
and
Dave, excuse me, Dave Chapman.
Dave
Dave
Chapman.
Chapman.
The three of them agreed that they would present at one of our members' meetings. Well, Dave did last month,
Yep.
I believe. And Tony is coming up in May or June, and Dave Hoskin on smart telescopes because he said, well, all the telescopes he talked about at Nova East have all been upgraded. There's new versions, and so he's doing his talk in September. So we do get them to repeat them for our membership.
Sure, the wealth. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that happened in 2020 when the Nova East Planning Committee had a slate of 5 speakers all set up, ready to go. And then we got squelched with the provincial shutdown.
Yeah.
So we figured, how about we have a speakers
Series,
session,
that's
one a
right.
week on a Wednesday night, and the 5 people that we had scheduled for Nova East spoke to our membership that way, and it worked well. You know, and that way we didn't lose the expertise, we didn't lose the enthusiasm. But yeah, it's just a matter of you're quite right. We do have quite a diverse group here, Matt, and that diverse group also has diverse interests individually and as a whole. And
Yep.
so it's a matter of how do we tap into it, and what theme are we going to have this year? What are we going to focus on?
Well, one more thing about our star party, where it's at, it's in Prince Edward County, but we also have a bird conservancy on the bird observatory is on Prince Edward County on the point. So that really brings in people to that as well, because we'll have people from the star party go down there to see the birds because it's a big migration point.
Right.
But there is a synergy in a sense. If you can get somebody to do a presentation at the star party, then very often once they have the presentation made, it's not a big deal to present it, you know, at the center. So we've gotten extra mileage out of that, and you know, and oftentimes if someone's gone to the trouble of putting together a presentation, they'd like to get some mileage out of it too. So
Yeah,
it's
I'm
worked
sort
out
of
well.
a sad Jason Dane isn't here because he did the bird walk there a couple years last year or 2 years ago.
We
two years. No, it wasn't 2 years. Oh no,
Yeah, it
he.
was 2 years ago.
That's right.
Yeah. And I thought that was absolutely spectacular.
Who did it last year?
Um,
Greg, I think.
no,
Pat Kelly.
Pat Kelly did.
Pat,
Kelly
sorry.
did. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And what was interesting is that Jason focused on the birds and Pat focused on the plants. So
Yeah,
I
well,
mean,
the birds were a bit quiet, but yeah, it wasn't. But there was a lot interesting about the plants.
yeah,
With that.
and there was a mention of the birds too, but it was really cool that
Yeah.
the difference in that walk on those 2 years. But yeah, and it's
Feathers and fauna. Yep.
yeah. I mean,
Love it.
one of the things too. Have you noticed that your star parties tend to have a lot of astro imagers versus visual observers? If I can make that distinction.
We have some astrophotographers, but they will try to do visual.
I'll throw that back to my point that we don't want to disassemble. Any astro imager does not want to disassemble their observatory to take down for 2 nights, maybe of good weather. So when we go, we're basically visual.
Yeah. You mentioned that a number of your members live in dark sky sites, right? So they may be almost permanently set up there to do what they want for imaging.
Yep. Yeah, so that's a big thing. People that even will go to Starfest if they're astro imagers at home, they'll take a telescope that they'll do visual. They won't disassemble their setups. I don't blame them. I really don't
No.
blame them.
Yep.
Yeah, for example, I'm about an hour north of Kingston and I'm in a Bortle 3. I'm actually not too far from Bob's Lake. I'm near Sharbot Lake and I'm
Okay.
just south of Highway 7, so I'm just like an hour and a half out of Ottawa too. But for me to travel to a star party, most star parties aren't going to be any darker than what I have here. And so I would travel with a small 6-inch scope for visual. And my 10-inch stays in the observatory that I finally got going a year ago.
Yeah, I think it's safe to say that I want to say majority, but I'd say over half of those that attend are imagers versus visual. The number attending for visual observations is increasing,
Mhm.
but
Mhm.
it
I think that might actually be for the reasons that just mentioned. The local imager community is gradually getting more serious, building observatories, permanent installations, and but there's a pretty active like imaging coaching environment, and so of people helping each other out. So there will be some of that at the party for sure. But I don't know. I think most people go for the chit chat.
John, I just looked up some light pollution. You're a Bortle 2, Smiley's is Bortle 3, Fallen Stars is Bortle 3, Starfest is Bortle 4. So why are we going to Starfest?
I go for the company.
Exactly. Yeah.
I don't care if it's a cloudy or rainy night. I go for the company and the talks.
yeah, well, one of the things that we have as well, not only the astronomers breakfast, but we also have the astronomers lounge. And it starts at 10 o'clock at night and goes till 1 in the morning. And it's in the events building. And there's a kettle for instant coffee, hot chocolate. There's if there was any leftover cookies or whatever from the day or leftover fruit from the day, it's there for you to enjoy. I think we've had chips there as well, haven't we, Chris?
Yep.
In the
Yep.
past?
I've insisted on that.
And a few years back, Tony Schelling and I decided we were going to bring board games, and we brought a cribbage board.
Ah.
And I had agreed to person this particular one of the nights, and Tony came in and we played cribbage for a couple of hours. Mind you, he walloped me every game, but nonetheless, it was fun. So that was something else that, while especially the astro imagers, while their equipment's going, they have a place that they can come down and chat. And it's a red light district, mind you. It is not a white light, it's a red light. We have red Christmas lights that we string. for it, and they can come down and chat. We've had 10, 12 people in there chatting, around midnight or so, while they're waiting for their pictures to be taken. Or maybe they've given up because the skies are clouded over and that's why they're down there. But that was something else that we've done too that seems to be a good thing to do.
I've also, in terms of resources, one of the ones that, because we have some exceptional people down in our center, and rocket scientists, if you will. But we've also had a number of people who are relatively new to astronomy, who've worked on certificates and then put together a presentation about, what they've learned, and they want to share, and they want, to make people enthusiastic about doing the certificate programs that RASC offers. And I think, Judy, I think I think you would agree. And those have been actually very, very good talks, not high technology kind of stuff at all, but really about experience and observing and sharing the joy and pleasure of observing. And so they've been there'd be good people to lean on too. So
I mean, Melody Hamilton at one point gave a presentation on the various observing programs.
Yep.
And Melody pretty much has all of them, except for maybe one of all the RASC certificates. I think she's one of the more highly decorated RASC members across the country.
she is, yeah. She's almost at the rocket scientist level for observing.
And she has her own observatory.
Yeah.
And she's in a very dark area of the province.
Yeah, Kathy has done the same.
Yeah.
She's presented on photography and stuff, and
Yeah.
no, it's been great. So you don't necessarily have to have somebody with a PhD to be standing in the front to hold everybody's attention at all.
Because oftentimes members don't know this information, right? They're either new to the RASC or else they're long in the tooth, but they're not aware of what the programs are that RASC offers. So, but yeah. Okay. So it sounds like we're doing what we should be doing. Just with maybe some better marketing and
Remember, it ebbs and flows, right?
yeah.
mean,
Oh yeah.
and they always do. And I mean now, there may be an opportunity for more people having local vacations this year.
Yeah. Yes,
They might want
that's
to stay
true.
home.
We'd love to see you, Matt.
Hey, I tried last year. My mom broke her hip.
Oh dear.
Yeah, she's fine. And then
Oh,
I
dear.
flew back and I decided to drive up here, not take the ferry, and they wouldn't let me cross the isthmus because of the rain flooded out the train tracks.
Oh,
I got all the way to Moncton and they were like, "Where you going?" And I said, Nova Scotia. She's like, "No, you're not. They closed the road." I'm like, "You
Oh,
gotta be
dear.
kidding me."
Oh my
So,
God.
bummer.
So next year you put or this year you put pontoons and a little engine in the back of your
That's right.
car.
Exactly. Or
Yeah.
I'll fly up because now JetBlue has one way $99 direct from Boston to Halifax. So for 200
really?
bucks, I could go back and
Oh.
forth. And they took over the old WestJet route.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so you can fly down to Boston for 100 bucks now from Halifax.
100
That's-
US.
That well,
And
even
140 Canadian.
that's still the cheapest flight out of Halifax, I'm
It
sure.
is.
Probably, and I think it's a $1.50. JetBlue took over the old Air Canada route from Boston to Toronto, and then they would stop at Montreal on the way back. That's $150 one way. So that's a very popular route to Toronto.
That is insanely cheap. Kim, you and I have
Yeah.
to drive to Halifax, get on that plane, go to Boston, and visit the AVSO headquarters. There you go. Those
We need-
fares are unbelievably not
Yeah.
in our reality.
So we need a travel person on our committee.
I only got the
Sounds-
email in my JetBlue because I list my Canadian address as Nova Scotia, and it popped up, and they're like, "Oh, we're starting an inaugural flight from Boston to Stannis." I'm like, "What?" I That's why I never would fly up there because I had to go to Toronto first, then all the way back to the East Coast. It was stupid. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, JetBlue is starting to make incursions on the eastern part of Canada, so keep your eyes out.
Just
Mm.
just a quick thought. If we were to do any sort of marketing and to the US and thinking of people flying in, I'm just taking a look at a map. There's several hotels that have opened up in the where was it? Just thinking. There's nothing super close to St. Croix, but when you get to Windsor, I'm just thinking, find an affiliated hotel rate for people who are flying in at somewheres, and it's not going to be super close. It's not-
Well, Down East Motel is probably the closest. It's on our website. It's a 15-minute
Okay.
drive from the park.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's the hotel on Route 1, isn't it?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah.
And then of course, then you're getting into Windsor with was it the Super 8 that's out there?
There's
Yeah.
a Super 8, yeah.
And a couple of others, so that it's a little bit further down the road, but it's doable.
Yeah, not that far.
I would say for the Northeast, the two biggest ways to get into are they're very popular down here. The contact somebody for the Doers and Dreamers guide that comes
Mhm.
out, the Nova Scotia Tourism Guide. That's everywhere down here. And same thing with Bay Ferries. They push that a lot. Like I do, I'm on like the premium level with Bay Ferries every year. I do a survey. Why do I come up here? And I always put in there. I do star parties and functions in August up here, and you'd be super surprised that they would slap it up on one of their web pages or one of their info guides on the boat. So
Neat. Yeah.
So we seem to have most of what our thinking and what we've done in the past is we have in common. I mean, we said of the same kinds of experience, the same challenges and finding speakers, getting volunteers, worrying about the weather. So I mean, I guess we'll certainly share with you our as we move along here and we kind of firm up plans for for this August. Let you know
Well,
what we're up to, and we don't have, as Judy mentioned, we don't have Wi-Fi down at Smiley's. I mean, I don't know whether you have. Well, you probably don't have Wi-Fi either when you're out on doing your stuff. I'm just thinking in terms of sharing presentations or something like that.
nothing that great.
Yeah.
But definitely let us know about the Star Party and we'll push it out to the center members because they
Yep.
may be planning their vacations.
So what is the date of Fallen Star this year? Oh, you're muted, Kevin.
Gotta find it. I'm pretty sure it's September. It's in September. And I believe it's
19 to 21.
There we
So
go.
again, around new moon or first quarter moon.
Yep.
And we're going to take a lot of ideas from you guys and basically formalize a lot of what we do. For instance, your Astronomers Lounge, we have that. We have coffee on at night. We just don't call it anything. And we just tell people, if you're thirsty, bored, go in there. If it's bad weather, we sometimes have movies off of computers posted on their video projector.
Did we watch The Martian one year, did we not? Because of the rain?
I think so.
Yeah.
And we do event sponsored coffee Sunday mornings, so we could expand that into a breakfast perhaps, and have fruits and yogurts or something like that.
It's a nice day to start the day.
Again, the biggest problem is some people are up before sunrise, like us, or other people are up at 11:55 with 5 minutes to pack up and get the hell out of Dodge. So,
Yeah, we
yeah,
have the astronomers breakfast both mornings, both Saturday and
both
Sunday.
mornings.
Sunday.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We try to avoid anything Friday night because people are coming in. It's a long drive, so people arrive at all times.
Yeah.
So our first formal events typically are Saturday. When do we do the swap meet? Before the talks in the afternoon? We try to group,
Usually you have talks and then we'll have the swap and then we have
yeah,
dinner.
we try to
Take
concentrate a little bit the events so that they're not spread out one event every 2 hours because that messes up with people and they don't have a good grasp of time. So, yeah, I don't know. Anything else you can think of that we want to do that we can steal from them?
Well, I liked your ideas of, with respect to the coffee, contacting Just Us, which is just down the road from,
Yep.
mind you, a little ways. Farmers Market, they're galore. We're in the valley. So, I mean, that'd be kind of cool to be able to have them provide some fruit and veggie trays at that point in time.
Yeah, I mean, if you're having the astronomer's breakfast, get the fruits and veggies from them.
Yeah.
Help promote the local farmers markets and the farms that are around there.
And people on their way home may stop off then at that place that has advertised or left a coupon or something.
Yeah, there's two of them are just down the road from each other. Henniger's for well, that's Henniger's and exit 11. Where I usually go.
Yep.
Picked apples there, Jerry. What was the name of it? Anyway, there are two farmers markets not too far away, and I'm sure there are many, many others too that
Well, I know
they're a bit smaller and not as well known, at least not to me. But
I know in September, I mean, we have the apples that are starting to come in September, but then you also have your root vegetables and that sort of thing. And so on the way home, we'll usually stop off and pick up a few things from the farmers markets and from farm gates in order to bring them home and have them.
yeah.
I mean, Judy, we could probably share. You went to the trouble of putting together a list of, as you say, of the themes and the workshops and presentations. We could probably share all of that with Kim and Kevin and
Yeah.
you know, just for ideas. And also, I don't know, you've probably may have seen already, or one of the Nova East websites when we have it, and then there's usually a schedule to just, you know, you can see how we structure things and stuff. Because I mean,
Yeah, the current website has a menu item called schedule, and it's last year's schedule, for instance. But it'll give you an idea as to since our registration desk is operated on Friday from noon till 6:30, and on Saturday morning from 9 till noon. And that way the Friday evening doesn't interfere with any of the guest speakers sort of thing, and allows the registrar to have time for dinner before the first speaker. And then Saturday morning, it's in the events building, so they're there so they don't miss anything if the speakers or whatever go on. But yeah, so it's there, but like I said, the only thing that's been updated is the date on the front page and the park information. All the rest of it is previous year.
yeah. And we had over the last few years had scaled back a bit just to try and say what was the most important, and the socializing was one of the biggest things, and then the observing and not getting into challenges of putting together extensive meals and stuff. We just the astronomer's breakfast we kept because that's pretty straightforward. That's not a hard one to do.
And to your point, Matt, it was quite simple last year, where after the astronomer's breakfast, there was the walk the solar system for the park or whatever, but then there was the bookmark, the sale that we had for Dave Lane's books, and the swap, the equipment swap. And that was it for the morning. And then there was the lunch break, and then we had a talk in the afternoon. And then a talk that evening.
Yeah, door prizes some point.
Sorry?
Door prizes, I think, somewhere.
That was Saturday.
I forget.
Anyway, it's all there. So it was really, we really did try to build in a lot more social time.
How was the park experience? Like I've never observed from up there. I've been up there, but
At Blomidon?
Yeah, I assume it was a little windy.
We had to have
Mhm.
one of our bug, we had to have our bug tent fixed.
Okay. I've stayed in Scotts Bay at a bed and breakfast, and they've asked me to observe, and I'm like, okay, I can do this, but we got gale force winds out here. We have to get really creative. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
fairly windy. In fact, Blomidon has the nickname of Blow Me Down.
yeah.
Yeah.
So,
The Aurora Borealis was great, though.
It
oh
I was
was.
yeah,
gonna
but
say
that
that's
was
probably killer up there. Yeah.
a total surprise. I don't know who it was, but one of the guys got up in the middle of the night to go to the loo,
That
which is
would be Jerry.
yeah,
That was Jerry. Yeah.
okay. And of course, I got woken up about what 3 in the morning or something
See?
silly.
Yeah.
There's an aurora. So
Yeah.
we got up and then we started spreading the word down the tent line.
Yeah.
And it was just phenomenal because the weather had not been great. But in the middle of the night, there was that aurora and it was just glorious.
Yeah.
In fact,
Around
there's a video
a
of
lot
it
of.
on our website.
Yeah.
But I think you took it, Jerry. You took he had a time lapse of the night sky going from sunset to sunrise, but you could see on the upper part of the video where the aurora were occurring. You could see the reds and the greens, but he had a camera pointing the other direction, and that caught the aurora, taking still pictures.
Just my phone.
Was it your phone?
Yeah,
Yeah.
just handheld.
Oh, okay. So, but yeah, that was, I think that made a lot of people's weekend seeing that. Totally unexpected, not on the agenda.
No.
Gotta love those
You've
surprises.
got to love those surprises. That's right.
You bet. You bet.
Now is Blomidon a staffed park? Do they have like a ranger when you go up?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Will they have a,
It's
will they have a
similar.
rain? Okay. Will they have a ranger this year at Smiley's, or is it still self check-in?
Well, I don't know what others do, but I think others check in, but we don't.
Okay.
We just
Yeah, no,
drive. We just drive
yeah,
in.
we just drive through, but normally there's
No.
Ranger Bob is there. You say hi and he Nova Ease, boop, you go through, but there hasn't been a
Yeah.
human being there.
Blomidon was a little more formal, and we had to check in when we came.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I
I mean,
figured.
once they checked in, then
Yeah.
it was fine. So, and they were good to deal with, and it was new experience for them and new for us. So, but it was similar facilities to what Smiley says.
Yeah.
It would have been nicer to be up in the upper field rather than where we were. In terms of relationship to washrooms and the event room, the
Yeah.
event space and all that sort of thing. But I mean, we were away from the main campground, so we didn't have to worry about fire pits and all that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So
Well, glad it worked out.
Oh yeah, no.
But yes, I will be there this year. Don't panic. If I don't show up, I'm going to get threats from people.
yes, you will.
Yeah. We'll let
We
you
missed
know
you.
what presentation we expect.
24 hours before my whole inbox lit up, like, where are you? I'm like, I'm in Florida dealing with my mom. What happened? She decided to do her own stunts. We think she broke a hip. She broke a hip. So
Ouch.
Yeah,
it was awesome. They went in, it's all robotic, not to get off subject, it was all robotic, not even 2 hours. And the next day she was checked out. So within 3 days, she fell, wiped out, had a new hip, and was walking around.
wow.
Absolutely
Wow.
amazing. And it's all robotic now. I'm like, way to go, 70-year-old bionic woman. So,
There you are.
but no, I flew back, and like I said, that rainstorm that hit you guys flooded out the tracks. And I forgot where I had breakfast in Dieppe by the university. They're like, yeah, you're not going across. They shut the highway down. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. I just drove 6 hours up here. So,
In contrast here, somebody fell and broke their hip, and she was looked at in 3 days.
holy wow. 3 days? That's crazy.
It's less expensive here, but it takes a little longer.
Slightly longer.
A little longer is
Hey. That's crazy. Wow.
Well, yeah, that was the experience of the neighbor down the street. But when Mum broke her hip. It was a lot quicker than that.
Yeah, that was always my fear at Nova East is if you weren't familiar with that hill and you took a tank at night, some of our older members, that made me a little nervous.
Yeah.
But for those of you who haven't been to Nova East, the way it splits, we have this weird hill and it gradually gets steeper as you go towards the building and you can't see it the way it ramps off at night. It's just like a black abyss. So unless somebody sets up a telescope or like a glow stick there, you just don't know where it is. And we've lost a couple of people.
We find them in the morning.
We do. So
So when you folks get organized and have your ducks in a row, let us know. Send promotional material to us here in Kingston. We'll spread it around our membership. And what the hell, you may even see some of us show up this year.
Oh, that would be great. We'd be pleased to.
Yep.
Yeah. And same with you as well. That is, this session has been recorded. And Jerry will post it on our website, on our YouTube site, I believe, right, Jerry? And
Yeah.
when that's been posted, we'll send you the link so you can share it with your members.
Yep.
We weren't going to record this, but one of our members contacted me and said, is this going to be recorded so I can listen to what's said so that I can listen to it and maybe provide some input? Yes, we will do that.
You might even get a volunteer.
Yep. And our organizer this year couldn't make it tonight either. So, yeah.
So, yeah. So that's
well,
the-
sounds like you guys are doing everything right as well. I mean, we think we've done a pretty good job, and you seem to be running parallel. So sounds
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, as long as we keep sharing ideas, you never know what might not work here, might work for you, and vice versa.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't
Well,
think we'll
this-
be in Kingston this September because we have a wedding in Ottawa in August, but we've got to be back here for Dark Sky and Nova East.
Well, this is great, Judy. Thanks for letting us know about it and inviting us.
Well, thank you for making it known at the last meeting, Kim, that you were interested in it. Oh, yes, I love your rockets. Yeah. So anyways, well, thank you, everyone, for participating.
Okay.
We yeah, we haven't got from here, Chris. I'll let you from
No, well, I think we've kind of come to the end of the evening. I'm running out of ideas and bad jokes, so it's probably time to close it, and then we'll probably have a chat amongst ourselves about what we're up to next, and I guess and report to the center as well what we've been doing.
Yeah, we'll probably be writing up a little report and send it to our exec and then send it off to Belleville and let them know what we talked about. I mean, they might even have some ideas too. I know we're constantly trying to ask each other ideas of what to do. So
yeah, just freshen things up, right?
Yep.
So, the same but different.
Yep.
So I guess for us, our
Right.
next step is to have a local, just a Halifax chat group to look at what do we want for
Yep.
East this year.
Yep.
'Cause we have to get going on deciding that so that we can make all the right motions thereafter to make sure it happens. So
okay,
All right. Anyway,
that sounds wonderful.
thank you everybody for coming
Okay,
Yes, thank
nice
you.
meeting you
and
all.
participating. Yes, and nice to meet you as well.
All right,
Great.
Take care.
good luck.
Tony's, I guess, Tony, you're still down in Arizona
Yep, till the end of March. Yep.
till the end of March. Nice job.
Dark skies.
Good for you.
Alrighty, see you guys.
Anyway.
So Matt, on a more serious note, would you be willing to do a presentation on radio stuff? Don't want to put you on, think about it, okay?
remind me in a month.
Yeah,
Will do.
lots of craft beer up here.
If I bring Kevin, he's a professional winemaker, so we get to hit all the wineries. So
Yeah.
that's the problem.
Wow. We can work that in.
Stellar
Well-
Wineries.
Run it by me in a month and I'll let you know.
Okay,
All
take
right.
care, everybody.
Very good.
Will do.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kim.
Nice
Okay,
seeing you
bye.
all.
Good night, everyone.